What's good, YouTube fam? It's your boy Tony, aka Descendant of Chaos and Controversy, and today I have got a topic of discussion that's been long awaited, long overdue, and especially, given my perspective and my point of view on it, yes, the time has come to pass. So, last night there was a gay pride event that happened in Dixon, where I reside at here in Illinois, and it had some of the cast of RuPaul's Drag Race or whatever, and the people, my friends, who I have watched my son when I go to work, they attended this event. Okay. Now, this was a discussion that was brought up at work last night, and we were talking about those in the LGBTQ community, you know. And I'm sure a lot of the for how should I say this? For educational purposes, to get an understanding due to our ignorance, so to speak. Um, there are many questions that I've asked myself, had the talk with my sister and my friends who are part of the community, and a lot of the concerns and issues that were brought up as of recent and earlier was how to address people within the community with them wanting to be identified as this, the proper pronouns to use, and the consequences and the repercussions if you offend somebody unwillingly, because people are used to just a sense of normality. Okay, all this ridiculousness and people having to conform to unrealistic shit, so to speak, has gotten far out of control and out of hand. And that's based on how I'm seeing things. Now, traditionally, from my understanding, when I come to know what it meant to be gay, a man liking a man, a woman liking a woman, okay, no problem. Simple enough. Um, there was no complications. There was no misunderstanding. You knew how to identify who was gay, and it was just cut and dry. In today's era, with all these people who want to be identified as this, classified as this, see themselves as whatever, and then you have these people with these transgender roles. Okay. I know probably what I'm going to say next is going to not sit well with a good majority of people, but it is what it is. If you can make other people uncomfortable, then you yourself going to have to deal with a sense of uncomfortable um, things being addressed, so to speak. Okay, fair is fair. There are limitations within the straight community where we know what's socially acceptable and what's socially unacceptable. Line has to be drawn in the sand somewhere, especially when there are children who are easily influenced and absorb a lot of what they see with what's going on around them. Okay, and I understand a lot of the concerns when it comes to the perversion of those within the LGBTQ community and indoctrinating the kids to be subjected to the vulgarity, having people dress inappropriately. And I say that, and people say, Tony, you're starting to sound homophobic. No, no, no. I'm going to stop you right there. Because watching a video not too long ago on YouTube, as a matter of fact, I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, you had this person dressed in drag, a little inappropriate, more so inappropriate because they had the titties hanging out and everything else. Children were present. The grandmother at a particular table was covering the eyes of their grandchild. And even the person dressed in drag had enough sense for the moment to cover themselves up because they knew it was inappropriate. Now, I say that to say this. In our society, I watch videos where on certain beaches you have those that patrol within law enforcement to go harass females wearing thong bikinis or whatever. You take an issue with that. Say it's inappropriate. Women who breastfeed in public. People took an issue with that. Said it was inappropriate, even though it's something that was natural. And I argued on the defense of those breastfeeding. If you got a mind that is perverted and you don't have no sense of maturity about you, yeah, it's going to make you uncomfortable. Okay, so with that being said, why are these people getting away with just being out, just having their ass and everything else, especially exploiting themselves in front of children? I can't piss in public without getting a fucking ticket for decent exposure. But these people can run around out here, whatever, ass out, whatever, having dildos and all this other shit. Nothing is said, right? So how is it okay for those in a certain community to just push the envelope as far as they can, but for those with a tradition of being normal, so to speak, there's consequences if we dare to entertain anything like that. And it's not about being jealous, it's about setting standards. Am I still coming across being homophobic? I'm just asking. Because when it comes to music, they have explicit content or explicit lyrics to let you know, hey, don't let your kid purchase this CD or tape or whatever, because it might contain content that's inappropriate for a child to listen to. For TV shows and movies, they have ratings, right? They have, what it is, mild violence, sexual content, nudity, or whatever. You go from G to PG-13 to rated R to whatever. NC-17, rated X, or whatever. They have these ratings to let you know what's appropriate and what's inappropriate. So if you have those standards put in place as a guideline to say what you may or may not want your kids subjected to, then how is it that it's a free-for-all for those certain individuals or certain people within the LGBT community to think it's okay to expose themselves in the manner that they do to our children? And I think I'm presenting this argument with a sense of logic. I understand freedom of expression. Hey, there's a time and a place for that. I know it was pushing the limits when you had Lady Gaga, even Prince wearing them damn pants with his ass cheeks hanging out. Even that was like looked at with a sense of And what's even more disturbing is having to conform to pronouns. I'm saying, where did all this shit start from? I mean, then how did it become a thing to, if you don't address somebody appropriately by how they want to be identified there's consequences to you not adapting quick enough, conforming right on the spot. And I'm like, what's the point? And then I know I come off being funny and insensitive at times, whatever, just to lighten the mood. Being that I have this joking characteristic about myself, and I'm saying, damn. I said I was watching Ghostbusters, and I'll be damned if looking at the villain in the movie, Gozer, who Egon explained to Peter Venkman and Ray, that Gozer is neither a male or female. For those who didn't know, the one that had the two dog pets and shit, and asked Ray if he, are you a god? Then die. And then they said, next time when someone asks you if you God, you say yes, god damn it. But seriously though, I'm sitting there like, for people who say, oh, there's no such thing as gender and stuff like that. I'm sitting there, where do you guys come up with this shit? Then I'm sitting there, it must have been one of these individuals who grew up in the fucking 80s and was like, remember, Gozer, that motherfucker didn't identify by gender and stuff like that. But it was also fiction. It wasn't for you to extract from and make it something within our reality. But, you know, when it comes to the stretch of our imagination, I guess there's no limits. But getting back to the pronouns, what I consider to be trivial nonsense. Nothing worth getting bent all out of shape over. And I'll explain why. Okay, so understand that people within society, groups or what have you, have their own stories of shared experiences based on being outcasts, being rejected, having to deal with such ignorance in our society with people who put others down, subject them to hate, discrimination, and all of that stuff. And I get it. I understand. Something that we should grow from. If we want to come together and unite as people, especially under the umbrella of this country, to be considered Americans and stuff, regardless of race, creed, color, religion, or whatever, or sexual orientation, I agree with that. However, there are things that I consider to be realistic and unrealistic. When it comes, and I'm gonna make this comparison, when it comes to those within the black community, so to speak, throughout all the shit that we have gone through, and all the labels that was placed upon us as being nigger, Negro, African American, black, person of color, this, that, and other, all these labels. You never once, or I have never once, um, seen it come to a point where we demanded to be addressed as such, or else there's consequences. No. What we reasonably requested and asked was for equality, equal rights, the right to vote, to not be discriminated against, to not be targeted, lynched, killed, to have a fair standing within society, to be able to get an education, to be able to work and get promotions as our counterparts, to be able to go to a bank and get a loan fairly, to be able to get a house within decent neighborhoods without being told that we are not allowed to. Those are reasonable requests that can be applied to anyone across the board. Okay? And we have broken down barriers to make it so that other people didn't have to go through discrimination and bigotry and all this other stuff. I mean, yeah, we still deal with that shit today because we got those that hold on to the old tradition of ignorance. But when we progress, we don't progress to be perverted, to have a sense of vulgarity that we entertain and consider it to be the norm. And then expect people to accept it. And I know there will be someone to say, well, at a certain point in time, there was all this, white influence and stuff, and there was barely anything for black folks and stuff like that. And then they had to accept having to have integrated schools having to accept having more black people within the entertainment industry, and then you had all these black people. So I don't understand why is that? Why was it okay for black people to be inserted, and white people had to accept it? So why can't the people in the LGBTQ community be accepted? Well, first and foremost, well, I mean, the history. I don't have to regurgitate the history. When it comes to working side by side, it was to be identified as you can't control this, the outcome of when you were born, genetics, DNA. Okay, we were not looked at as being human, but as property. We were dehumanized. So to be looked at as being human, we had to break down the barriers to be accepted in society, to be treated fairly. And again, that goes across the board, to be treated fairly, to not dehumanize people, to not discriminate against. However, ironically, those who demand that same respect find themselves, and this is what I see with some of those within the LGBTQ community, for everything that you say that you stand against is the same characteristic that you project onto others. And it's the same thing that I said about black people when it comes to white people in certain circumstances. The same thing that you despise and dislike and hate about white people when it comes to how they project their shit onto you, you turn around and do the same shit to them. Pot calling the kettle black. And I understand it's a conditioning when you're subjected to the shit and you start to imitate and patting yourself behind some of the behaviors and throw it right back. I understand that. But again, like I said, two wrongs don't make a right. You gotta be better than those that you disapprove of as far as their behaviors are concerned. And as I've seen it and as I've observed, when it comes to those in the black community, we was making progress, we was advancing, we was overcoming a lot of stuff, and then we just became stagnated. We came to a standstill, you know, and it's crazy because we're still fighting to have tangibles, and you're looking at everyone else, especially those within the LGBTQ community. They could be given all the stuff that's awarded to them, riding the coattails of what we have established here, again, making it fair for everyone else, and we get shit thrown in our face. And I've heard that argument, and I'm inclined to agree. Like I said before, and this is what I'm trying to understand. For the tradition of those within the gay community that you can easily identify and accept the man liking the man, the woman liking the woman, no issues. All that extra shit, trivial. Trying to understand the dynamics and the structure of the identity of those within the community, I can't wrap my head around it. Trying to understand it, but I fall short. Examples would be, if you're a man who likes another man, why do you choose to be a man who likes another man with feminine qualities? Same thing with a female liking another female. Why would you be a female liking another female that's a stud, or carry on like they're the man in the relationship, have male traits and stuff like that? I don't get it. Maybe it's not nothing for me to understand, but as I've seen the conflicts between my friend and her partner and stuff like that, females generally don't get along as it is. There's always some kind of bickering and bitching and people looking down on each other, and females not getting along to begin with. But yet you're going to find yourselves in a relationship with another woman and you still don't get along. And I always see the conflict between my friend and her partner. My sister, who is gay, whoever she's with, she never has a steady relationship. She's in and out of relationships like, but it is what it is. I decided to touch upon that. Let me know what you think. Let me know if I've made valid points in this video. If it's some of the things that you yourself have been asking yourself and questioning and said, damn, someone else has pretty much, said what I've been saying. Leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Hit the like button, share, subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, until next video, peace.